In this episode, I'm going to show you guys a time-lapse video of one of my favorite fish of all time, the lake sturgeon. Sturgeon are one of the coolest fish out there. They're actually a living dinosaur. They've been on this planet for over 200 million years. Love them or hate them, they're still a super cool fish. This is a replica of a 60-inch lake sturgeon that I actually, for the first time ever, carved out myself after I built the whole thing, and I'm going to do a time lapse kind of showing you guys the process of painting different fish. So my sturgeon time lapse did not turn out good, so I showed you what I've got of that. But I am going to do a time lapse video now that I've got it figured out of a bluegill. It was all white after I got the eye and the fins and everything glued on. Then you take and spray paint it black, and then you take steel wool and sand it back off so it looks like this. Now it looks like a dead fish. Now I'm going to show you how to time lapse it into a live fish, one that looks alive. Okay, the step you just seen me do, I put a translucent pearl paint on every single one of the scales individually. The GoPro said it took 22 seconds. It actually took me around 3 hours to do. The reason I did that, they do make a transparent paint, like a pearl paint, a lot of different colors you can get. But if you spray the whole fish, these little scale pockets in here, if you look on a real fish, they do not have any, usually the reflecting properties like the rest of the scale does. So if those get filled in, then it just doesn't make it look as real. I like the way it makes the scales and stuff stand out. Another thing I was talking about is blanks. And no, I don't mean the stare your kids give you when they borrow something and you ask them to bring it back and they pretend like they've never heard of it. The blank is what this is called. It's a replica of a fish that was molded. If you get the better blanks, they've got better scale patterns. It makes them a lot easier to paint. The scales go all the way through. The fins are thinner. Biggest advantages to the replicas is they'll never shrink, they'll never crack, they never stink. I don't do real fish. People ask me what's harder to paint, real fish or replicas. Replicas are by far harder to paint. If you think of a paint by number, that's what a real fish is. You just color the pattern in that was already there. On a replica, you pretty much have to recreate the entire fish and every part of the pattern. So it's a lot harder to do. So now we made it go from what looked like a totally dead fish to one that's just been floating around in your buddy's live well because he forgot it there for 2 months. Now the next part, we're gonna add some color, and that's where it gets fun. So there it is, guys. The fish that I just got done painting on time lapse for you. This is a replica of a bluegill. You guys got to watch me paint. There's a lot of different ways that people paint them. This is just how I do it. I'm not a taxidermist and I'm not an artist. I'm just a guy that likes painting fish out in his garage. I'll show you a few of the other replicas I've done over the years. Kind of run through a few of them. What started this quest is 13 years ago, my youngest son Caden and I, he wanted to do a thing where he caught every species of fish in the state that had a recognized state record. There was over 63 fish, species that are recognized by the state. So far he's got 9 left to go, and he'll have caught every one, including one that I'll show you in a second, where he broke the state record for short-nosed gar. So he holds one of those records himself. Just some of the different ones, and we'll touch on some of these. American eel, crayfish, just bait stuff for my mural. Tiger muskie, quillback. Some of these fish I've repainted 3-4 times, and I still don't like the way they turned out. Some of them turned out pretty decent on the first run. Shovel-nosed sturgeon. There's all the different red horse species. Channel cat, white bass. Got to have a walleye in there, of course. This one I just finished up. You've seen some of the time lapse on this that I screwed up. But this is a lake sturgeon. It's the first time I've ever tried to carve one completely myself. It didn't turn out too bad. Looks like a sturgeon. Then over here, we've got more of the fish that a lot of people are more familiar with. There's all 3 species of bullheads, all 6 species of sunfish. That largemouth bass, that's what I was talking about earlier. That's one of the only 2 skin mounts that I have in my house. I had a professional taxidermist do that for me about 30 years ago. And it was about 5.5 pounds when I caught it. It looked really nice in the beginning. Now, 30 years later, it looks like it's about 2.5 pounds. It shrunk that bad. That's why I don't do skin mounts. Plus, the wife considers these arts and crafts, so she doesn't mind me doing them because there's no stink. Up here is just some other tackle and gear from my dad and grandpa, uncle. I don't know if you can see that, Frank Hootmacher. That was a rod box that he built. This right here is pretty cool. It's the Hoots 2-in-1 caddy. What those are is, I'll do a segment completely on those, but over around 50 years ago, my dad and grandpa invented the original fishing markers. What I mean by that is you'd throw it over the side of the boat when you caught a fish and had a weight that went down and it marked your spot. They invented those long before Lindy or anybody else came out with them. Before that, people just used a milk jug with a padlock on it. They actually had the little Hoots logo on them. They were made in Mead, Nebraska by my grandma and grandpa and my mom and dad. Pretty cool. My dad's old green box depth finder. Grandpa's old green box depth finder, his old tackle box. This is an ice mural that I built. Got a lot of the fishing antiques up there from my father-in-law. These are all the cold water species. Splake, lake whitefish, all the trout and salmon things like that. Down here is an eel pout that I did. Some rainbow smelt. Little gobies and roughies, little invasive egg eaters. These are all fish that we've caught over the years. Panning back this way. This is a shadow box that I built. Dad and Grandpa on Marion Lake. This is all the stuff that was out of his tackle box. A lot of flies and jigs and stuff that my dad and grandpa made. A lot of deer hair and things like that. Painted themselves. Some old fly rods my brother gave me. A couple little tiny fish. Made one of these for each one of the grandkids. Stuff they've caught. A little pumpkin seed. Bluegill, crappie. Tiny little perch. Here we've got some Gila trout, probably the rarest trout in the United States. We caught these on a trip that we filmed in Arizona. There's a plaque from the state for this fish. This is the only other skin mount I have. This is the replica, or not the replica, this is the skin mount of Caden's short-nosed gar that broke the state record. It's already started to shrink a little bit. I had a guy do that, another professional. The reason we kept it is because to certify the state record, then you had to actually kill the fish and bring it in and have it identified. Otherwise, we'd have just released that one too. My all-time favorite fish is this little guy right here. My granddaughter Lucy, when she was 3, she loves watching me paint fish, but she made this one for me. And she was super proud when Grandpa put it up here on his mural to go with all the rest of the cool fish. So that's it. We'll be doing a lot of content on these different species of fish, how to catch them, how to find them, how to identify them, just different outside content like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, get them off the game box and into the tackle box. We'll see you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed it.